Good evening then everybody, and welcome back to TTL, to the Limit Racing Round 8 this evening, around Miami, as you can see, from the sun in the sky, and the blue, or green, edging around the track, you should say. I think it's meant to look like some kind of ocean or something like that. No idea. Anyway, 16 drivers, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen for tonight's race. It is a sprint event, so we have a short qualifying, which will be followed then by a full race later on. And as you can see, some returning faces to the grid this evening. Collateral Lads back in the McLaren, and we're watching him at the moment as one of the first cars then out on track at the moment. Of course, Miami was new for this season, and it is the first time we have raced it then in TTL, and it's a track that drivers love and hate really, especially this tricky first sector, which Collateral Lads is now going to show us. As you can see, he runs over a bit of front wing there, so not ideal, but that won't affect the car, of course, then. And a lot of drivers, well, really saying that the drivers that have more assists, really, in terms of traction, really benefit on this particular circuit, so watch out for that one. As Collateral Lads then coming now through the second sector, the start of the second sector. And 215 mile an hour, which will lead me on to my next point, really. The top speed being a huge factor here. Of course, those couple of long straights, as we'll see the second one of those now. Collateral Lads will take us down as he negotiates the tricky chicane in the middle of Sector 2. And he's kept it clean so far, he's kept it valid, which is the main thing. Of course, all these laps do count, as they will make up the grid then for the sprint race. Collateral Lads coming through the final couple of corners now, and we'll put a time on the board for McLaren. It is a 1:29.7, then quickly beaten by the AlphaTauri of Revengezilla, 1:29.0 then. Yet to see a time in the 1:28s, but I'm sure we will later on. Another driver that's back this week with us, Groundsy, is of course racing for Alfa Romeo once again, the full-time driver for the team. Alfa Romeo not doing too badly at the moment in the championship, but they're starting to drift away from the top six. And Groundsy, they're getting it a bit wrong, keeping it out the wall though. I don't think he quite impeded the Aston Martin that was coming past of Livs then, who will get to finish his lap as he comes around the penultimate corner now, and the final chicane here crosses the line. It's absolutely nowhere near it where it should be, and it's a 1:33.7 then from Livs. Groundsy, who we saw then get it all wrong at the tail of the times at the moment, but Object Fungus then putting down the marker for everybody. Provisional pole for sure, a 27.7 from him, as we see Groundsy having more issues then in Sector 1, and he's now going to have to try and coax those tyres around another lap, and he'll hope, well, I imagine he will actually come in for a new set of tyres, of course, with the drivers needing to get the times in quick and fast. 11.5 minutes left then of this short quali session, I should say, not Q1. Used to saying that, of course, this short quali session. And Groundsy then will, as I mentioned, be back into the pits as Seneco then crosses the line. A 1:30.1 from him in his Ferrari then. Probably the tail of the times that really are meaningful at the moment, so we'll be hoping for an improvement on his second run then. Jordan Aki is back in his Alfa Romeo this evening after not being around for Spain last week. let's see what he can do then in that car this evening. And he's a little bit slow, it should be said, down the straight. Probably not helped by the fact he isn't using any ERS at all. And this is his first run on this set of soft tyres, so clearly not looking to put his best time on the board. Another driver that's back once again this evening, Brad Mason then, who we haven't seen race for a few rounds now in TTL. He's been preoccupied, I think. He's had a couple of holidays, I think, somewhere along the line as well. But it's nice to see him back. Hope he had a good time away, of course. And he'll be looking to get towards the top of the timesheet, where we know he is capable of putting that Red Bull then. And Bawley as well, making the step up from Division 2. He did very well in his outing at Abu Dhabi for that race in particular. And we'll be hoping then that carry that over to here, of course, another street circuit style. I think Abu Dhabi is technically a street circuit, but it pretty much is, with the walls close by. And Bawley then coming through the second sector, keeping it clean so far. Let's see where he lines up for straight line speed here. And he's going over the 200 mark then. So clearly also favouring a less draggy setup as he comes into that penultimate corner. It's so hard not to drift wide to the right here and invalidate, but he does keep it then. True, crosses the line. It's a 28.6 from him. Puts that Mercedes into P5 then, just under a second off his teammate Object Fungus, who still then has a provisional pole just about from Livs in that Aston Martin, who's looking to take the fight then, it seems, to Object Fungus at the moment. As we ride then with Prem, who's just about to finish his first flying lap then in his Williams. And he's coming around the final couple of corners now. There's a yellow flag out for a slow-moving Haas, and that's a very good time then from Prem. A 1:28.5 puts him into the top 5 of the times. And he'll be very impressed with that. And maybe he'll feel like he's got a little bit more in the lap as well, considering that was then his first run in the session. So we'll see later on what he can do. Sniz at the moment, P15, unable to match the pace of his teammate so far, and, well, completely empties the battery. He was, as I mentioned, a couple of tenths up through the first sector, and, well, I don't think with no battery on board that AlphaTauri he is going to improve. But we'll see if he's kept it clean through Sector 2. He will get a split in a moment. And yeah, it is 4 tenths down then. Clearly severely hampered by the lack of battery in that AlphaTauri. We've got Groundsy then on an out lap at the moment. 7.5 minutes now left in this short qualifying session. Brad Mason, perhaps a little bit rusty. And, well, taking an inventive line through there. Caught him just about. Matthews then, 6 tenths up at the moment. We know he's definitely got pace to be somewhere towards the front row. And he's now just short of a second up on his previous lap then. So this would be enough to put him into P3 provisionally. We'll have to see how well he does the final sector here. And, well, it really is him currently so far the preferred driver for the championship. Magusa crosses the line and it is enough for P3. Third place for Magusa, 1:28.3, just ahead of Jensen in the Red Bull then. So not a bad time, much improved on his first run, but he will have to improve again if he wants to get onto the front row for that sprint race. Ramsey looks like he's backed off his second push lap then, so really taking a while to get the best out of those soft tyres. There's a lot of the drivers in the pits at the moment, looking then to put a new set of soft tyres on before their final runs, with 6 minutes now to go in this short qualifying. And Diamond Dushi is going to be the next driver then to cross the line. And it's half a second quicker, and it's P10 for Diamond Dushan, and stays P10 with that effort, and well, puts him closer as we've got a really compact then bottom end of that top 10 at the moment. A bit of a gap back to Collateral Lads, who we saw was on an outlap and still is on an outlap at the moment. And yep, he will need then to try and come around and set, of course, a faster time to try and break into that top 10 then. Of course, as I mentioned, all the positions count in this short qualifying. We're watching Seneco go around without a front wing on, which is less than ideal. He'll need to get into the pits to make some speedy repairs. As Groundsy then, at the moment, looking to improve on his previous effort. And DRS wide open then, down the second of these long straights, but drivers really do benefit from running that lower downforce setup. He does very well out the penultimate corner there, and coming around now across the line, and it is an improvement from Groundsy. Puts him onto the tail end of the top 10, very close in terms of times. P11 for Groundsy then, 4.5 minutes left on the clock. Still time to come around once again and come into the pits for a new set of the soft tyres. And Brad Mason on his outlap 2. He needs to try and get into the top 10 in that Red Bull. A bit way off in terms of time at the moment. There's a big spread really in the bottom 6 drivers at the moment in terms of time. So let's hope the pack gets a little bit closer for the sprint race, of course, but it does open up some opportunities to those drivers which are a little bit more confident in race conditions. So we'll have to see if that throws up any surprises for the grid for the main race later. Brad Mason 3/10 up through the first sector then in his Red Bull. As you can see, only through the first part of the lap and already a good chunk of that battery being used then. Just shy of 20% now as he comes up to the long right-hander. Just tries to throw you wide into the wall. And then the tricky chicane, I think, of 9 and 10. This corner here, you have to make sure you don't catch the sausage curb there so it doesn't throw you into the wall. And he is now 6/10 up. So it's enough to leapfrog Collateral Lads at the moment, but he needs a bit of a better final sector here if he wants to get into the top 10. Like his teammate, who's currently actually in the top 3, still Jensen, still in the pits, so waiting to come out for his final run. But what can his teammate do then? Brad Mason, and it looks like what he can do is come into the pit lane then. So giving up on the lap, despite being 6/10 up, feeling then that there is more time to be had as we see Jordan Aki break into the top 14. That's not ideal from Jordan Aki, as I mentioned, coming back to TTL after a couple of weeks away, I believe, and still half a second off Brad Mason in P13. Then Sniz, as we saw him cross the line at Sector 2, was 3/10 up himself in his AlphaTauri, crosses the line. He's still 3/10 up at the end of the lap and stays then P16. With 2 minutes left on the clock here in qualifying, and lots of drivers still in the pits then, leaving it very late to come back out on track as we have a little bit of a lull in the session as we wait for the quicker drivers to come back around again. There we go then, a minute and a half left now, and Liv's warming those tyres up again, and so yet again seeing another driver take a couple of laps to warm their soft tyres up. Collateral Lads also on an outlap at the moment, who's actually on a racing lap. Revenge Zilla, who is 8/10 off and invalid too, so another driver that's going to need to take a second warm-up lap. Prem as well, just finishing off his outlap then. So it's Jensen, I believe, in the Red Bull, who is going to be one of the first drivers to give us a time at the end of this session. He's got a yellow flag ahead of him in Collateral Ants then, who looks like he's got underway and won't impede the Red Bull then. He'll be racing his chances here. Jensen, of course, who was involved in that stellar Division 1 race at Abu Dhabi just a couple of rounds ago. And he'll be very, very much hoping for a similar performance here. And, well, the top 4 of the top 5, I should say, were all involved in that battle in Abu Dhabi then. And Lexus looks like he's going to throw his Haas into the mix here as well then. Jensen coming through the tricky chicane now of 9 and 10. And coming out to this final long straight. He's got a McLaren ahead of him. And Collateral Ants there, I think, who we saw spin earlier on in the lap, well, not exactly being kind to Jensen there. And in fact, it might have just cost Jensen a little bit in terms of lap time. We'll see through the final sector what the Red Bull man can do. Can he get himself onto the front row, even with that slight bit of impeding there? Crosses the line and does then move into P2. Did lose a little bit of time, as I suspected there, with that McLaren in the way, but it's still enough for P2 for now anyway, as we have Livs then, who surely is the other main challenger to this for Jensen. Coming around the penultimate corner now. He was slightly down on his time through sector 2. Needs to have had a much quicker final sector to get back into the top 2, and misses out, then improves on his lap, but is unable to get back onto the front row for the sprint race. Bawley then has put a time in to put his Haas P4. I think Magusa missed out on a final run there at the end of qualifying. Lexus 2 won't improve, so it's what Revengezilla can do, who's just slightly down on his time also. Brad Mason is all over the place in his Red Bull, so I think that is the grid for the sprint race. And you'd have to say there, the Mercedes team doing very well indeed. First and fourth. What a lap from Bawley there. He'll be very, very impressed with that, and he'll be hoping to have a clean sprint race then, which will of course follow very shortly, and hopefully get himself perhaps onto the front row for the main race if he can translate that pace in qualifying over to the sprint. But the times are very close then at the end of qualifying. I'm going to take a quick break and be back in a moment then, and I'll see you all very shortly. Welcome back then, viewers. And as you can see, we are into the sprint race now of this Round 8 Division 1 event. And as you can see, to the joy of all the drivers out there, we have got wet weather conditions then, all drivers onto the intermediate tyres, which, well, is no surprise. And it'll be interesting to see if it does dry up or get wetter in the race and lead us then to perhaps some frantic pit stops. But it is only 10 laps, of course, for the sprint, so not a lot of time for the conditions to change. And as you can see on the left hand side then, that is your grid for the sprint race. So it is Object Fungus who took that short qualifying pole position. Jensen alongside him. I'm sure he'll be very keen to get away the better of the two then, and hopefully get into the lead of the race. 16 drivers. We did have a late joinee in the form of Brookie Min, but it doesn't look like he's been able to get onto the grid, unfortunately, so won't be taking part in at least the sprint race. There's your pretty pointless pit stop strategy graphic. Yeah, intermediates all the way as long as the weather doesn't change, of course. And, well, I suppose really it is the Aston Martins versus the Mercedes versus the Haas team, really, with Jensen in there too. The top 7 consisting of just 4 teams, so pretty dominant there from those 3 at least. Jensen will be hoping that Brad Mason can find his way up the pack. Of course, points awarded to the top 8 in the sprint. But the question is, in these challenging conditions then, how much do the drivers gamble with trying to earn an extra space for the start of the main race, or whether they just stay content? Because of course you don't want to be starting at the back for the feature with taking a bold move in the sprint then, but expect to see plenty of incidents as the drivers line up on the grid then. Sneers bringing up the back of the field. We are going to get racing underway then after the 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go then. It actually looks like Livs has got the better of the start there of the leaders coming down into turn 1, and indeed then he's trying to put his Aston Martin up to P2. But what a move from Mag User then, steaming up the inside, and I think that's Bawley then that we saw in the background going around, and he is down then to 10th place, or even further now, right at the back of the field. I think there's been a big incident then at the start of the lap. It's a full track yellow, so a virtual safety car. Bawley with a 5 seconds penalty, and it is actually a full safety car. Then I did say there would be incidents, and Sniz coming off the worst from all that then. I think the move started with Bawley being tagged and going around then after turn 2. But what a start from Mag User, it should be said. Absolutely flew into turn 1. I think he actually outbraked himself, but the other drivers were aware to it. And, well done to everyone at the front of the field anyway for not coming a cropper to Mag User's flying Haas into turn 1. Got away with it. Jensen has left the session. He should be able to get back in under his own steam. But it is Maguton, as I mentioned, into P2 after an unbelievable start then. With the safety car out, it means we were going to get an even shorter sprint race then. It'll be interesting to see how many laps this safety car does stay out then, as we will have a look at the position change from the start of the race. As I mentioned, Bawley then, who was around at turn 2, down 10 to 14. All of his hard work in that qualifying undone then after the first couple of corners. Collateral Lads down 3 as well. I think he got involved in that also. And repairs then for Prem, Diamond and Seneco all into the pits. Bawley and Collateral Lads following them in as well. So clearly plenty of drivers involved in that instant of the start. I was going to mention, I thought Collateral Lads got away really well initially, but clearly came a cropper in those incidents to follow. Well, the safety car kind of saves them and at least gets them onto the back of the pack for the rest of the sprint race then. As you can see there, Magusa up 4. Great start for him, along with Brad Mason, then up 5, who kept it clean in his Red Bull. Then Jensen got away poorly in the end, dropped down to P5. I think he was, well, came a cropper to Livs right off the line, and then when Magusa threw it up the inside, I think he was forced wide, and that's what allowed Lexus through then. So the 2 Hasses into the top 4. Thankfully Jensen is back in his Red Bull then, and able to take control of his car for the rest of the sprint race then. It's Object Fungus that leads the way still. I think the rumour in the mill is that incident was caused then by Prem, who said he clipped Henkers, so that might explain why Prem is down to 11th, and well, Henkers looks like he got away with that, even if he did clip Henkers then, so stays P6. Both Aston Martins and both Hasses doing very well, and Object Fungus still leads out in front. Then the safety car will take us on to lap 3 of this 10-lap sprint. And, well, it doesn't look like the weather's going to change, so it is going to be inters then all the way through. And, well, it'll be interesting to see what the weather is like for the main race to follow. This track is challenging at the best of times, but given the weather conditions, it does make things a whole lot harder then for the drivers out there, and Sneers will be definitely one of the drivers hoping he has a better start to his main race over his sprint, as Jensen out of the lobby again. Connectivity issues, it seems, for the Red Bull man. Let's hope he can get them sorted by the end of this safety car, which I imagine will end on this lap. And Collateral Lads and Booley then going to bring their cars to the rear of the field. And as I mentioned, bad luck for Booley, who was in the top 4 at the start of this sprint, and now runs down in P15. Then he'll have to try and get a move on to get some places back. As to Diamond Douchey then, still only P12 after he had to pay up for repairs. Jensen is back in then, and hopefully, as I mentioned, can take control of his car then, as we're going to see the lights on the top of that safety car go out, and Object Fungus then becomes this safety car. And, well, Object Fungus hasn't been known to be particularly late on his safety car restart, but he is backing up the field quite a bit here. Mercedes at the front of the train, another Mercedes at the back, the rest of the field, the filling in a Mercedes sandwich there, and Object Fungus looks like he's got going already then, so before the final corner, not leaving it until he came out of the final traction zone. And we are back underway then here in Miami. It's been an absolutely blistering start from Object Fungus, already over a second ahead of Magusa in P2. Lives can't hold on to the back of the Haas either, so it looks like they've been caught out all the way through the pack then. There is an overtake going on there between Revengezilla and Henkers. That'll be a bold move if the AlphaTauri can pull that off, and he does indeed. What a move on the restart there by Revengezilla, and gets ahead of Henkers, and P6 for him. Diamond Douchey as well in the back, making a move on Prem for P11 then. And he'll be hoping to get into the top 10 at least for the race, even if it won't get him a point. And Booley also passed Collateral Lads on the restart, who has fallen off the back of the pack, and does have then some minor front wing damage to that front wing. Collateral Lads might have to pit again for repairs then, but out in front, Mag User then taking his lead to nearly 2 seconds now. Object Fungus, I should say, taking his lead to over 2 seconds over Mag User then. Jensen looks like he's having trouble getting control of his car. What a shame for him. He did line up second for the sprint. Looks like he isn't going to be anywhere near that in the main race. That's if he can get control of his car. Then, of course, it's P6 at the moment for the Red Bull. And further back then, it looks like Livs has got the edge on Mag User at the moment. He's got that gap down to about half a second. As Object Fungus, of course, setting the fastest lap of the race. And getting that gap up even more than at the moment. So, as we look through the field, then Henkers has now gone ahead of the AI car of Jensen. And into P6 now for the Aston Martin. Vengilla losing touch with the top 4 here. He's 3 seconds back at the moment, but he'll be happy, I think, to start the main race. P5 climbing 4 then from 9th at the start of this race. Prem, who had pace in qualifying after his incident all the way back in 14th now then, so not ideal for him either. And Brad Mason's about to pass his teammate, who is struggling still to get back in that car, but he has got Groundsy for company then. And I wonder if Groundsy going to try and get both the Red Bulls here around the outside. This will be a very audacious move, and he has got ahead of one of them, and it's the one that doesn't quite have a driver in the car at the moment. But Groundsy then up to P8 now as well. But it's both Aston Martins then at the front of the field that are both going to look to make a move here. Livs and Henkers following the driver ahead of them very closely, and Henkers looks like he might be the one to try and make a move here into the braking zone. And Revengilla shutting the door on this occasion keeps that P5 for now then. Jensen's car still falling through the pack. It's down to P10 now, and if he doesn't get back in control of that car anytime soon, he might be starting even lower for the main race. And looks like the rain has eased up, but it is definitely still falling, so we're not going to see a change of tyre before the end of this race then. But even though we are in a sprint race, there's not a lot of overtaking going on here, and might just be down to the conditions, of course. No DRS to help with overtaking in the wet conditions, so that might be why we're seeing drivers not able to make a pass as often as you would think we would around here. Of course, those 2 long straights naturally usually helping with a bit of overtaking them, but yeah, yet to see any big moves so far, as it looks like the rain has now stopped completely then. So we have got 4 and a bit racing laps left here in Miami, and well, I don't think we'll see anyone come into the pits. I'll be very surprised if we do, as Henkers then looks like he's got the move done on Revengilla before we get to the penultimate corner. Revengilla looking to come back at him, but well, we're currently looking at this from the end of the straight. What's going on there, cameraman? And it is Henkers who retains P5 then. Looked as though Zillow was going to throw a late move on the Aston Martin then, but thought better of it and stays in P6 for now then. Groundsy has got past Brad Mason in all of that. He's up to P7 now. As Jensen, is he back in that car? Is he actually behind the wheel of that Red Bull yet? It doesn't particularly look like it, I'll be honest. But he's still in P10 for the moment then, so hopefully he can, if he's not in that Red Bull already, get back as soon as possible. Diamond Douchy in the Alpine up to P9 now, so on the back of Brad Mason here, but not close enough. And Jensen, yeah, must be back in that car here, because here comes the Red Bull looking to make a move on the Alpine, then up the inside. And Jensen then getting the move done. It's damage limitation here now for the Red Bull man. And he's up to P9 behind his teammate now. Here comes Livs then. As the rain has completely stopped. The track will now be drying, of course, lap by lap. But I don't think we're going to see any slick ruling. There just wouldn't be any point with only 3 laps left now when the drivers cross the line again. I thought for a second there Livs was going to go straight into the back of the Haas, but avoids doing so, then carries on for now in P3 as Maguser and Livs, 3 drivers in a row, setting the consecutive fastest lap, and that is of course helped by the drying track as they continue on round. But Maguser's, well, he's keeping Object Fungus a little bit honest here. 2 seconds the gap. I can't imagine that they will plug that gap before the end of the sprint race. But Maguser definitely not slow, it should be said, at the moment. Livs finding that out to good effect as he can't get past Maguser here. As I mentioned, 2.5 now laps left to go as Collateral adds into the pit for soft tyres, which is surely just a smash and grab at a fastest lap to try and take the points away from another team, as Jensen's car then is round and he's at the back with no front wing. It goes from bad to worse from him. It wasn't the best start in the world. He hasn't been able to get back into his Red Bull during this race, and he's now at the back of the field with no front wing as Collateral lads then struggling on those soft tyres. Perhaps it isn't time to put those on your car, as he's finding out to good effect then through Sector 1. Object Fungus still leading the way from Livs and Maguser, but we've got Lexus here under pressure from Henkers, as Henkers looking to go around the outside then, it would seem, through that penultimate corner. Now as they cross the line, Lexus still just holds a slender advantage and a couple of tenths, but this is dragging Revengezilla into this fight now, and with 2 to go, this looks to be the closest fight on circuit here. Well, I have to say that Revengezilla might count himself lucky here. He has been helped by these 2 battling ahead of him, and well, can he sneak a P4 here? It'd be some turnout from P9 to P4 here with all the incidents in this sprint race. The battle goes on, but it goes back to what I said at the start of this race. How much do you risk just that extra place for the main race, but then, you know, potentially crashing out or getting involved in an instance so late on can really ruin your main race? And that is of course where the main prizes are up for grabs, as these 4 continue to battle on. We'll flick back ahead to the fight between Livs and Maguser, as you see up in front. Object Fungus actually looking, I think, for the damp patches there on the inside of the track, trying to cool those intermediate tyres down. Whether it's worked or not, I don't know. DRS has interestingly been enabled then for the final lap, and that is really going to help Livs here in his efforts to get past Maguser, and it could provide some entertainment behind as well. We'll try and track it as they go around the lap. I think Henkers putting Lexus under pressure into turn 1, and Lexus, I think, losing the back end there. This is going to invite Henkers to get ahead of Lexus, who tries to hold it up the inside through the S's. Does have to concede the place to the Aston Martin now, but of course with DRS can quite easily come back at Henkers down then this main straight. Up ahead, Livs now with the DRS on the back of Maguser, looks to go to the right, now to the left, and can't quite still get past him. Maguser doing a brilliant job at defending this P2 so far. Further back, the fight is still very much going on then. Henkers still looking to keep P4 here. Brilliant racing as Revengula tries to get the inside, almost losing the back end there, but managing to keep the AlphaTauri pointing in the right direction. And this battle far from over, as up ahead then, Livs has got the move done with the DRS before they get to the penultimate corner. And it is going to be, though, Object Fungus who wins the sprint race here in Miami. Livs will take P2 on the final corner from Magusa, and further back it doesn't look like anyone's got the jump apart from Grounds. He might look to do a late move on Revengezilla, who cuts the door off the Alfa Romeo and keeps P6 then. Groundsy P7, Brad Mason taking P8, the final of the points available in the sprint race. Then rounding off the top 10, Diamond, Dushi and Bawley then, who we saw qualify in P4 and only able to recover to 10th in the sprint, and that's where he'll start for the main race, of course. And further back in the pack, Senetco, Jordanaki, Prem, Jensen, of all people, the shock name down there in P14, takes a consolation fastest lap, it should be said, some points away from Object Fungus, and Collateral Ladsen in P15. There you go, there is your classification for the sprint race then. We've already been through it, so we won't do it again, of course, but the most interesting part of that really for me is Bawley there dropping out of the top 4 down to 10th for the start of the main race. The Aston Martins and the Haas team still finishing strongly then, occupying 4 of the top 5 places. Revengezilla will be happy to have climbed from P9 in all of that, and of course all eyes will be on the Red Bull of Jensen qualifying P2, having issues in the sprint race, down to P14 then, and he will be disappointed, but will be hoping to avoid those connection issues in the main race, and he'll have the pace to get back into some meaningful points then. As we take a short break between the sprint race and the main race, I will be back very shortly for 29 laps of Miami. Good evening, everybody, once again. Welcome back. And as you can see, you might have seen, if you stayed attentive throughout the break there, we had to do a small lobby restart as some of the drivers were having issues with this, of course. Perfect game, which, never has any problems with it. But everyone's back in safe and sound, and hopefully that is the last of the problems then. And the grid is all correct, and we are back as we should have been then. And it is dry for the sprint race, which of course is a change. The main race, I should say, is a change from the sprint race. And yeah, much improved there then for the drivers. And I'll be hoping to be a little bit better suited to this circuit in the dry than the wet. Although, for the most part, it should be said the driving standards in the rain really weren't all too bad, as we see Object Fungus with a very interesting line through that corner there, hitting the wall. So it is Livs that carries us on in the race, and of course a slightly delayed race. Hopefully we don't finish too late now. We only have 29 laps here, so it's not the longest race at all. Top 5 then, Object Fungus, who isn't leading the cars at the moment. It is Livs then who starts P2, Maguser P3. He was a quick starter in the sprint, got away very well indeed, and as you can see, up to 3rd place for the main race then. Henkers P4, Lexus in P5, Revenge, Zilla, Groundsy, Brad Mason, Diamond and Bully all rounding off the top 10. Brookie has joined us for the main race, and he is P17 here for Ferrari. There's plenty of drivers missing their grid spots then. Less than ideal for them. There is your pit stop strategy then. And the supposed pit stop strategy, of course, all depending on what happens with safety cars. And as we wait for the 5 red lights here in Miami, and it's lights out and away we go. Then they didn't hold the drivers for very long. Object Fungus doesn't get off to the best start there as he's down to 5th place already. Maguser takes the lead then. Haas gets ahead of Livs. Object Fungus, really poor start from him all over the place. I think he got involved with Henkers as well, who drops to 8th place, and a little bit of an incident with him. He dropped to the back. Bully's had a blistering start then from P10 up to P5. Very good from him indeed. Sniz is P6, but I think he... Oh no, he hasn't got a penalty. I thought he got a penalty. It was Jornacki that picked up the penalty. So Sniz with a phenomenal start from him. He's up 11 somehow. I missed how that happened. Absolutely no idea, but up 11. Bully up 6 to 4th place, then he'll feel he's righted a few wrongs there. That's where he should have been for the sprint race. Now he'll be hoping to build on that, potentially challenge for the podium then in this main race. As you can see, Object Fungus down at 211th. I think he's having some kind of issues as he's outside the top 10 then. So this opens the door for the rest of the drivers now then to really pounce now that he's out of the picture. But it's Maguser who leads the way and has got the gap up to over a second already over Livs, but it is only just over a second. The two AlphaTauri boys battling with each other into the final corner there. Revengula back ahead of Sniz, who I mentioned was up 11 places. Now it's 10 for the AlphaTauri man, down to P6, letting his teammate go ahead then. So not too bad at all moment for them. Diamond Douchey also a gainer there at the start of the race, up a place from 9th. Jensen up 5 as well. Object Fungus has continued then in P11, so he can't have too many issues at the moment if he is able to continue onwards. But it was a horrible start from him, as I mentioned, collecting Henkers, who's got a place back now up to P7, but not ideal at all as Jensen continues to carve his way through the field. He's now up to P8. Then Brad Mason and Jordan Aki already in the box. For some repairs, you would assume Brad Mason onto the hard tyres, Jordan Aki onto the mediums then. And they'll have to go long on this stint now to try and get to perhaps a safety car period, or to only make one more stop before the end of this race, which you would imagine they would do comfortably now. Meanwhile, Sniz is having a look at defending against Henkers, and I don't think Sniz would mind me saying he feels a little bit out of position here, running in the top 6 at the moment, and he's now down to 7th as Henkers gets back ahead of him then and takes that 6th place, although Sniz looks like he's going to try and come back here at the Aston Martin, all over the place through that chicane there, that corner, and well, hanging it round the outside from turn 1 here, and extreme skill here by both drivers not to come together. And just as I say that, there you have it, Henkers is round. I think he might have lost that though under his own steam. Don't think there was contact, could be wrong on that one. We wasn't able to get a closer look, but Henkers now then down to 14th, and after such an impressive sprint race, he'll be disheartened by that, but he's not out of it just yet. He's able to tag on. Object Fungus has retired in the pits as we watch Jensen make a very, very easy overtake on Sniz with the DRS assistance there. So Object Fungus, our race winner in the sprint, while Pole Man has retired. We'll get a word on what happened there to him. Hopefully he lets us know in the chat, as we're still watching Sniz then fall from grace here, falling down to P7, and pretty shortly Diamond will look to get on the back of Sniz and is up in front. Looks like Revengilla is making the most of those medium tyres. He's up to P4 now in his AlphaTauri, getting ahead of Bally, who is still on the hard tyres. Of course, as you can see, a lot of drivers choosing the hards then. Only 3 running on the mediums at the moment now then, so perhaps they're looking to widen that safety car window at the start of this race. Brookie Min then fighting with his temporary teammate for the evening in Seneco. Both of them going hammer and tongs at each other. Seneco holding on to 10th place for now, but is probably not in Ferrari's best interest to have too much of a fight here. And Brookie, you'd have to say, is more than likely their best chance at some good points today. Seneco hasn't had the best of starts to his life in Division 1, but he's running in the points at the moment, and he has finished in the points on a couple of occasions this season then, so don't count him off for now. But at the moment, Brookie is going to put his teammate out of the points. Down to P11 he goes in, but he's trying to hang it around here, and they almost come together. Brookie then taking P10, and Diamond, as expected, is cruising up to the back of Groundsy, who's cruising up to the back of Sniz. And we've got a word then on Object Fungus, who, as we saw, unfortunately had to retire from the race, saying he was at the toilet, and when he came back the race started, so did not have time to put his setup on. That is very unfortunate. I can only apologise for that. Is round then. He's had a moment off the final corner after he was running in the points, down to 13th now, and a good way off the back of the pack now for Ferrari. So will be another driver potentially hoping for a safety car then, but he carries on round. Of course, don't be surprised to see quite a few drivers out of this one, and perhaps if we only get 10 finishers, he'll pick up a point that way, so there's always incentive to continue on. Meanwhile, we're watching Prem then, who had some pace in qualifying, got unfortunate in the sprint, involved in an instant with Henkers now, looking to put the McLaren of Collateral Lads under pressure. And Prem holding it around the outside then of Collateral Lads. Oh, pretty much cut the corner there, you'd have to say. Did lucky not to career into the side pod of that McLaren, and Collateral Lads holds on to 11th place for now then, but clearly struggling a little bit with the pace in that McLaren. Meanwhile, just up the road, Groundsy then has got past Sniz for P7, so Sniz falling down further into 8th now then, and how quickly can the likes of Diamond, Douchey and Brookieman clear the AlphaTauri now, as he gets a little bit squirrely then out of the penultimate corner and around the final right-hander. Here comes Diamond Douchey looking to have a move into turn 1. Outbreaks Sniz there, who holds it around the outside. The traction that Sniz is finding around the outside there is very, very interesting, and well, he does have to surrender the move, unfortunately there, but definitely some fight still in that AlphaTauri then, as we come up to the quarter distance mark. Now then, in just over a lap's time, around lap 6 of 29 here, no safety cars just yet, and you'd have to say fairly clean driving from most of the drivers out there, apart from the slight incident earlier on. We're about to watch a three-way overtake then between Brookie, Diamond and Sniz then, and Brookie then looks like he's made the double overtake. What a move from the standing driver at Ferrari this evening. He's up to 8th. Diamond didn't even make an overtake on Sniz. It looked like he was going to be the one to get the move done. Now it looks like finally he is going to get a move done, but no, he has fallen back behind Sniz then. And well, they've both got similar amounts of battery here. Diamond in the DRS and the drag toe of that AlphaTauri, and can't quite get the move done. Looks to get the cutback though, the switchback on Sniz, and does finally get the move done. I'm wondering if Sniz here is going to have another look into turn 1. Well, he's now got Collateral Lads for company, who's looking to make a move, and there he is, the McLaren man on the inside of Sniz. Fortunately for Collateral Lads, not able to make the move. Sniz holding on for dear life for that single point in P10 then, as Bawley, who did close up momentarily on the back of Revengezilla, I noticed there, has fallen back by a couple of tenths now. 9 tenths off the car ahead of him. I'm just wondering if those hard tyres are starting to outfavour those mediums, and quarter of the way through this race they'll be looking to just do the one stop, you would imagine, all these drivers on the medium and the hards, apart from those that of course came in at the start of the race in the form of Henkers and Jordan Aki, but they do continue on, and Bawley is starting to claw back then at Revengezilla now, who looks like they're going to have Jensen for company very shortly on his comeback drive. Meanwhile, out in front, perhaps to back up that theory then, Livs has managed to get back the gap on Mag User here, so Livs' tyres now starting to work for him as well. He's just half a second back off Mag User with plenty more battery at his disposal as well here. Will that help him in his quest to get into the lead of this race? It was a brilliant start by Mag User, and well, he was able to get the lead, hold on to the lead. And how long is this lead going to be lived then, as Livs is looking to try and get as close as he can to the back of the Haas, but it looks like that Haas is a bit quicker in a straight line. He did use a bit more battery there than the Aston Martin, so that would definitely have helped him. Meanwhile, in the background of all this, the fight for P4 is starting to hot up then, as Lexus has got himself a bit of a buffer here to Revengezilla at the moment, in his looking to try and get a podium. He has been on the podium before in TTL, so we have a yellow flag out then in sector 2. I think it's Sniz, who's had a moment at the long right-hander, and he's now P12 and 6 seconds off the back of Prem. Bad fortune there then for Sniz, who falls right out of the points and some way off the back of the pack then. But Lives now is still charging after that Haas, and it's interesting here the preservation of that ERS level in that Aston Martin. He's keen to hold on to that, and well, Magusa with 35% at the moment, clearly using it to stay ahead here. Now, I don't know why Lives would be very keen to hold on to it, of course, and unless he's trying to save it to push when Magusa does come into the pits for those hard tyres. But, well, you never know when there's going to be a safety car. Speaking of safety cars, another yellow flag out there, and this time in Sector 1. It's Sniz again that's around, I'm afraid, for him and the AlphaTauri team, as Jensen then gets a fairly easy overtake done on Bawley. Sniz is still having issues out there. He's round again in Sector 1. And it looks like what looked to be potentially some form of points today after a monumental start, well, has very quickly become a horror show on this Halloween evening for Sniz then, who is now at the back of the pack in P16. And will definitely need a safety car to get back into this, as Lives still runs P2 at the moment. And still is pretty content to do so. Perhaps he's just saving those tyres himself, and it could be a bit too much of an ask to do a hard to a soft tyre, but he's clearly not keen in pushing Magusa too hard. He just wants to keep within that DRS, as we have Collateral Lads then into the pitch. You'd have to assume this is for repairs, as it's lap 10, and it is indeed for a new front wing then, so he's clipped the wall somewhere, I think, or perhaps got involved in that instant with Sniz then. And a set of the medium compound tyres in, so he will need to stop again before the end of this race. Diamond Douche has also made a similar call then in his Alpine, and that will mean he'll almost definitely have to stop again as well then. So the bottom 4 now pretty much out of contention here at the moment. As Lives then on lap 10 continues to follow the leader very closely. It does look like he has got the edge here on Magusa, and he's come alive recently, and perhaps we're going to see a move into the penultimate corner here. Lives pulls to the outside, but once again not particularly attacking Magusa. Very happy to sit behind at the moment, as Seneco picked up our first corner cutting infringement, 3-second time penalty for him in 10th place. And Sniz, who's come in and out of the pits then, in front of these two. Now, can he cause any drama for the leaders at the moment? Ghosting, of course, is on, so he won't get involved too much in this fight. But will he give Magusa a bit of DRS here, I wonder? And he does indeed then, so that is going to help, of course, Magusa to defend if there was going to be a Henkers attack, a Lives attack, sorry, on this lap. Then that is going to help him defend that one. But now he won't get it down this second DRS straight then, and Lives surely will be through. 87% battery now compared to 90% for Lives then, who's looking to keep it tidy through the tricky, twisty second sector. And Lives surely now, yep, he's decided enough is enough. Quick squirt of the ERS. DRS, of course. And Lives then ahead and into the lead of the race. And on lap 11, he's finally made the move. And, well, Magusa calls that enough on those mediums. Into the pits now, surely, for a set of the hard compound tyres. As Revengezilla then looks like he's pulled up to the back of Lexus now, who currently in P3, and as they pass Lives in the pits, Magusa, sorry, will fall then further back, as I'm not quite sure what happened to Revengezilla there, but he ghosted to the inside of it. Oh, um, right. I don't know if that was just for me. That's not ideal. It's not over. Let's see if see if that's just me. Oh dear. Well, the race isn't over, people. I think I might have just been kicked from the. Let's see if. Yeah, no, it was just me. That's fantastic. Yeah, the race isn't over, everyone. It just ended for me there. No idea why. On lap 13, the race already come to an end. We'll quickly look in the Twitch chat then. So we've got Object Fungus, of course, disappointed. Nigel Piggle, good to see you. Thanks for the appreciation of the joke there. Previously, there we go. We're back. We're back in the race. Safety car is out. Snizz's car is lying sideways through the first sector. So a full safety car for the pack then. And that will, of course, benefit the likes of Jordanaki, Diamond, Douchey, Collateral Lads, who all came in then for repairs. Brad Mason, Henkers, Seneca and Prem all in the pits as well. And a special welcome to the stream to Lily Ellaby, who is the better half of Brad Mason. Thank you for joining us. And your man's not doing too badly at the moment. He is in P13 and now benefited from this safety car. So he'll be hoping to push on to get some points today then. And I hope you enjoyed your holiday as well. And thank you for giving us Brad back to race on Monday nights. It's nice to see him in the lobby. And yeah, thankfully we didn't have to do a restart there. I thought people were going to be confused. I don't know how the race finished. The race finished for me, but nobody else. That's great. Anyway, Livs then comes into the pits from the lead. This safety car could not have come at a more perfect time for him. He chops out those hard compound tyres for a set of the mediums then, and will look to take them to the end of the race, as too does Jensen. Comes into the pits. Revengilla made those mediums last an awful long time, and he's going to benefit from this safety car as well. So at the midpoint then, we have a safety car which is going to really pain the drivers that came into the pits early on. Brookymin at the moment is coming back out into P6 then. So very ideal for him indeed. As you can see, all the drivers there who have made a stop. Now every single driver in the field has made at least one. Henkers, Brad Mason, Collateral Lads and Jordanaki then, all with a couple of stops to their name. And the penalties at the moment, Bawley and Seneca with 3 seconds apiece. And, well, that is very good considering we are at Miami. And corner cutting is more regular than you think. They've done a stellar job to keep it clean so far. I'm assuming some drivers might disagree with that. Diamond Douchey saying he's never going to host a race again. I don't know if it's your connection or if it's just the game, to be honest. Technically, we've already had a race finish, but yeah, I'm assuming it's just the game. Of course, there was an update out today to make this game more stable. I can see that's gone very well, very well indeed. With effectively two lobby restarts after the sprint to the main race. Collateral Lads picking up a 3-second corner cutting infringement behind the safety car. What a plonker. Down in P14, not good at all for him. As Jordanaki then, we wait on to catch the rest of the field. And we can look quickly at the tyres that the field are on then. And of course, with most of them starting on the hards, the majority of the field are running the mediums now, as they've taken this opportunity to ditch those white wall tyre and put a fresh set of yellow marked mediums on. And I'm just wondering if this is going to hamper Mag User here. He's been quite fortunate that despite the safety car coming out after he made his pit stop, he's still managed to come out in P2. If you remember back, he did lose the lead before he came into the pits. 2 lives, so he's technically not lost out there, but this brings the likes of Jensen and Lexus's teammate, both of those drivers on fresh mediums now and right behind him, so surely we'll have a bit more pace than the man in P2 at the moment. Revengezilla then, the only other driver in the field on a set of hards at the moment. So those 2 drivers, watch out for them and watch what they can do perhaps towards the end of the race when the other drivers' mediums start to fade then. Just as I say that, Revengezilla getting very sideways behind the safety car. Safety car is coming in on this lap. We're going to get a Livs restart then. We've not had one of those this evening. Object Fungus taking us away earlier on. Well, he's not in the race anymore. The only retiree other than Sniz. And it will be Livs then to take us away. And I wonder whether he will look to try and follow in Object Fungus's shoes then, with trying to catch the field off guard. Looks like he's going to go a little bit longer here than Object did previously. And now finally decides to put his foot down, and Mag User looks like he's managed to stay with him much more than Mag User did against Object. But unfortunately for him, unable to make a challenge, and down into turn 1, it's Lexus having a look at Revengezilla in the background. Revengezilla getting his elbows out, and this is inviting Brookie then to get involved in this fight for 4th place. Lexus looking to hold on, and does then get the move done on Revengezilla, who falls to 5th, and surely with Brookie on those faster medium tyres behind will get ahead then of Revengezilla in no time. No change out in front. It is still Livs that leads the way at the moment, but Mag User doing all he can to try and get a move done here at the end of the straight. Not able to outbrake him into the braking zone. Diamond Douchey has left the lobby once more. It should be said, Diamond Douchey, you're not actually the host anymore as well, so having left previously, you're not the host, so blame someone else for a change. And meanwhile, Prem then looks like he's got a move done, and in the background you could just see there Lexus for the Haas team round and into the wall. He hasn't retired remarkably there despite spearing the wall at full pelt. He has carried on, but there is then another safety car. I'm going to take this opportunity to take a quick break, and we'll leave you in the comfortable hands of Livs then, who's going to lead us around for the second safety car of the main race. Hello everybody then, we are back after our second safety car period of the main race, and well, it's been an eventful safety car period as well. Diamond, Douchey and Bally then both retiring in that. Not too sure what happened to them there, but I think Jordan Aki was involved as well, as he's down to P13 now, and Livs then looking to lead us away under the safety car for a second time then. And he's chose to go a little bit earlier, it seems, and perhaps he's caught Magusa slightly more than he did previous. And Magusa now 7/10 back from Livs as they come into turn 1 here. And it's been a fairly respectful restart, you should say, from the 13 drivers that are remaining then. And Magusa now the only driver in the field to be on hard tyres, and Revengilla having to pit after his incident with Brookie Min, and well, I think the other one was Lexus. We saw quite clearly spinning around at the back, and yeah, so at least he's onto the medium tyres now. That might give him something to fight with. With 11 laps to go here then of this round 8 Division 1 race in TTL. Story so far really has been that Object Fungus, who was on pole for the main race, retiring early on, having been unable to select a car setup before the race. Sniz retiring, bringing out the first safety car, and then Brookie Min getting involved in a crash with Revengezilla and Lexus. So unfortunately, giving us a second safety car in which Livs still leads after here. Magusa quite close behind him though on the hard compound of tyres, and Jensen with a good recovery drive at the moment up to P3. Prem sits in P4 with Brookie Min from the back of the field up to P5. Groundsy P6. Seneco at the minute in P7 has got a 3-second time penalty though, but a solid drive from him so far, looking to get some more points on his Division 1 tally so far. Henkers recovering to P8 after spinning earlier on. Collateralans in P9. And Brad Mason then rounding off the points at the moment, having a much better main race than his sprint, and looking then to finally get comfortable behind the wheel of that Red Bull. Revengilla, P11, Lexus, P12 and Jordan Aki still in the race, but at the back of the field now after being tagged then by Diamond Douchey under that second safety car, despite running in the points. Quickly in the Twitch chat, we've got me then getting involved now, watching along with us. Some fans of Brad Mason, and he's not doing too badly at the moment. He's doing P10. He's got a point to his name, but with the penalties to Seneco and Collateral Lads, that would put him up then to P8. So there's still a lot of laps to go, and still a lot of laps for your man to get higher up in that top 10 then. But at the moment, it is the main fight on track, Maggie, with Livs having a fight out in front. And the question is now, will those medium tyres outlast the hard set of tyres on Magusa's car? And well, we saw it in the opening stint of this race. Those hards definitely came back to Livs when he was fighting Magusa, when it was the other way around. Well, Magusa here looking to do the same again, but this time it's him that has the quest to take the lead away from Livs. He's doing a good job of it at the moment, then he's kept within 3/10 here. The question really is how much more battery is he using over the Aston Martin driver? Well, the answer to that is quite a bit more at the moment, 40% difference. Livs definitely favouring holding on to that battery and using it only when he needs to here. It's been a stellar drive, you'd have to say, so far from him. But Jensen now looking to join the battle with the top two. And all we're missing from this, of course, is Object Fungus, and we'd have the same four that were fighting very closely just a couple of rounds ago at Abu Dhabi then. But hopefully these three can provide us some entertainment without the Mercedes being involved. Then Brookie as well has got Prem then, who's raced really well so far today, clearly well suited to the Miami track. P5 at the moment, pressuring Brookiemin for 4th, who potentially could get a penalty after admitting to an error in that crash with Lexus and Revengezilla. Almost losing the back end there as well, and this is going to invite Prem then to make a move on the Ferrari. To come up the inside here, Brookiemin holding his ground though, and holding then onto P4 at the moment. And, well, good driving in the end to recover the position, but surely it's a matter of time then before we see Prem get ahead of that Ferrari. Meanwhile, up in front, Jensen now is looking to make a move on Magnussen. This is one of the overtaking spots we have seen utilised most really this evening, and Jensen joining the list of drivers to make an overtake on that corner. And up then to P2. And the question is now, has he got inherent pace over Livs to get into the lead here? Can Magnussen now come back at Jensen at the end of the straight, using that DRS and ERS combination to try and get alongside him into the final corner up the inside? And Magnussen looks like he's got the move done. Can we get a switch back here from Jensen side by side through the final corner? Will he outbrake him into turn 1 here? Jensen definitely looking to try and make it a possibility. And he is up the inside after the end of the first corner, but Magnussen still holding on, and this is a fantastic fight between the pair of them. And they're still side by side. They don't want to give up this lead here. And, well, credit where credit is due. Both drivers then racing side by side for about half a lap there. But Jensen does come away with the lead, and we have got then a third safety car of the evening. I think it's for Seneco that's had a moment and gone round it. Brookiemin as well is back in P11 now. I think he's had a problem somewhere. Both Ferraris and outside the top 10 now. That's promoted Brad Mason, Henkers and Lexus all further up the points. So as I said, still plenty of time left here. Brad Mason, who's got his fans in the chat going crazy here over the news. Brad Mason up to P8 then, so still time perhaps to break into the top 5 there. No pressure now, Brad Mason. What have we got here? What do we got? Every day I wake up from a dream about Brad Mason 11. He is the best driver that has graced this planet. He is God, he is Senna. Brad is my one true love. Well, I couldn't have said it any better myself there. That is unbelievable. Poetry in motion for Brad Mason. Meanwhile, on the track, we've got plenty of drivers coming into the pits then. So, Livs pitting for the intermediate tyres. Now, I think we were expecting to see some rain later on in this race. Magnussen, interestingly, has got repairs to his front wing to take care of. So we're seeing a massive split in what drivers are doing. Now, obviously, they are getting the word over the radio as to what's going on with the weather. And what a mix of tyres we have got here. Some drivers are going to got this right and some haven't. Livs, Groundsy, Collateral Lads, Henkers, Brookie and, well, Jordan, all on the intermediates. Magnussen, Zilla, Brad Mason, Lexus and Seneco then. All on the soft tyres. Jensen and Prem both haven't stopped. They still lead the way, 1 and 2. This is absolutely incredible. I think it's the first time I've ever seen this in a league race. It hasn't even started raining. Doesn't look like it to me. Very brave call from those drivers that have put then the intermediate tyres on. I imagine we'll get at least one more lap of safety car here, and boy do those drivers need it who have those intermediates on. It's a bold call, but one way or another, as I mentioned, half of the field have got it right and half haven't. If the intermediate drivers have got it right, it's going to be a Livs, Groundsy and Collateral Lads podium. And if the dry tyre runners have got it right, it's going to be a Mag User, Revengezilla and Brad podium here. But rain has now started falling here in Miami. With 5 laps to go then, Revengezilla into the pits for speeding in the pit lane. So is he putting the intermediate tyres on? He is indeed. So that now leaves Mag User and Brad Mason as the highest running drivers on the slick tyres. Well, they could have really done with a safety car coming in on that last lap. Only 3 drivers now on the dry tyres apart from Jensen, who leads out in front on a set of mediums and 11 lap of mediums here. He's sticking with it. Well, I'll tell you what, the Mason Army in the chat, you need to have everything crossed here that it doesn't rain, and if it doesn't rain quick enough here, Brad Mason is very much on for at least P2 here. He's currently sat 6th in the train, but the rain wants to hold off just a couple of laps longer maybe. He'd be in with a great chance, but it is falling a little bit heavier now. It could be the worst case scenario for your man here running P6. Mag User 2, who has pretty much been in contention for the win the entire race. The safety car is going to come in on this lap. We'll have 4 racing laps here in what is going to be a very intriguing finish. Jensen still out in front on 11 lap mediums. I can't see a scenario in which he wins the race here. He'll do very well. He is going to lead the pack underway. There looks to be a lot of water on the track now, but let's see how they cope. Jensen takes the pack away. How quickly can Livs get on the back then of the Red Bull? DRS still enabled. I don't think I've seen the message to say it's been turned off just yet. Mag User then looking to make a move on Collateral Lads up to P4 now after that safety car. Good from him. Jordan Akis chose to come into the pits and retire the car then. So 12 runners left in the race. Who are going to be the 10 to get the points here? Groundsy now being attacked by, or getting past Jensen, I should say. Jensen falling back throughout the fields. Those 12 lap old mediums, as predicted, have fallen off straight away. So it's Livs, Groundsy and Mag User the front 3 here. Jensen falling back past Collateral Lads, and here comes, well, Brad Mason. Oh, a bit of front wing flying off Jensen's car there. Has Brad Mason been swallowed up here by Henkers and Brokimian? It looks like those drivers that put the intermediates on there, it's paid off for them. Oh dear. Brad Mason's backwards. Well, it's not quite gone the way the Army wanted to. Brad Mason now 12th without a front wing. Well, that's not ideal for him. And somehow Mag User's holding on at the moment. His car can barely turn around the final corner though. The gamble hasn't paid off. It's heartbreak for the championship leader then. He's into the pits. You can only assume for either intermediates or to retire the car. Well, he may as well carry on. He's going to get some points if he does so. But out in front then, it is Livs then who got the gamble right. He is still in the lead of this race. But look at the conditions, they're treacherous now. He's having to tippy-toe through the first sector. Brad Mason, a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and retires the car then. He won't see it through till the end of the race, unfortunately. But good effort. It looked like a podium might have been on at some stage. it was worth the gamble. And there you go then. Brad Mason will be P12. As we only have 11 runners left in the race now. Senetco is still out there on soft tyres. Unbelievable from him. The last safety car really did hurt the drivers. If we didn't have that safety car, of course, we probably would have seen Slick running till the end. But there you go, and it's rather negated the race as well. We're not seeing too much action on track here. Henker's looking like he wants to get onto the podium to make it a double Aston Martin podium. Plenty of drivers picking up penalties now. Collateral lads, Prem, Revengilla, we saw speeding in the pit lane, Lexus and Senetco. All of them having 3 seconds apart from Revengilla, who has 5 then. And this might help Henkers and Brookiemin then get a place over Collateral lads. Brookiemin, as we already mentioned, might have a penalty later on coming his way for that instant. Of course, a second safety car. But we're on the penultimate lap here then. So, Livs P1 still at the moment over Groundsy. He's only extended his advantage there as well. Revenger looking to make a move on Brookiemin. He's up to P5 on the road now, but has that 5-second penalty, so might drop back depending on what happens in the next lap and a half then. Senetco is still out there on slick tyres. I have no idea how he's managing it. Good effort here from Senetco. He's not going to be rewarded for his efforts though. I don't think he's going to get a point here. Jensen is being held up by him. Looks like he's going to get 10th place in for Red Bull. Meanwhile, up in front then, the fight still goes on for that P5 of Revengilla at the moment. Henkers knows he doesn't need to pass Collateral Lance to get into the top 3, who looks to try and break the toe down into the final corner. As Livs takes us on to the final lap then, lap 29 of this round 8 event here at Miami. Has been a race that's really had everything, to be honest. We haven't quite seen as close of a fight for the lead as we have done, and perhaps not as much overtaking as we would have wanted, but we've had safety cars, we've had instants, and we've had changeable conditions as well, which has given us a bit of an unpredicted podium, it should be said. Henkers looking like he is going to make it a double podium at the moment for Aston Martin then. Not a lot of fighting going on track at the moment, so I'm going to read this eulogy here towards Brad Mason. Brad Mason 11 is a tactical genius. He is best known for his signature tactic, rage quitting on lap 5. He also has a second little tactic of spinning out. What an absolute legend. Top 3 driver for sure. Well, I mean, top 3 might be a stretch, especially today, but I know he's definitely got the pace to be up there, so let's hope we see him back next week competing at wherever it is we're racing. I cannot remember to save my life. But yeah, I think he'll have a bit more luck hopefully next week. As Livs then comes down the long back straight for one last time. And well, he has always been in the fight for the top 2. He wasn't leading early on, but he was definitely right behind Mag User, who was. And well, he took the gamble to go into the Inters when it was a bone-dry track, and it's paid off. Livs crosses the line and wins then the round 8 race here in Division 1 Miami. It's going to be Groundsy who finishes P2 then for Aston Martin. Oh dear. What are we going to see here? It's going to be Henkers who takes P3, a double Aston Martin podium. Collateral Lads finishes P4, Brookiemin P5, that one very much still provisional, as I said. Lexus P6, recovering well after spearing the wall for that final safety car, P6 for him. Revengilla recovers to P7, he was always kind of towards the midfield, the front of that middle of the points, but it's P7 for him after having to make a late stop for intermediate tyres. Prem finishes P8, perhaps it could have been a bit more from him today. He had the pace really to be in the top 5. P8 in the main. Mag User, unlucky for him, took the gamble of going to the soft tyres and it did not pay off though. He finishes P9 and the final points position goes to Jensen, and who at least gets a point for Red Bull, where Brad Mason, despite the willing support of his army, was unable to get any today. But here then is your podium, and it is Livs who wins then, and he's doing a very decent job at the moment in Division 1, should be said, in terms of the championship as well. That's the lead of the championship that goes his way with that race win, and Aston Martin taking a commanding lead now in the constructors as well. It's looking very good for their drivers, and for this man in particular, Livs, who takes the win today. Always on the podium and now winning races. Very good from him, and very good from Groundsy and Henkers also. We've ran through the top 10. We'll quickly cover off the bottom 7 before rounding off the stream. Then Seneco in P11, Brad Mason P12, Jordan Aki 13th, Bally, Diamond Sniz and Object Fungus then rounding off the bottom 4. I've got to quickly get the race director before Tijum absolutely annihilates me. There you go, TJ. Enjoy reading this tomorrow. So I'm assuming you'll be doing the race result. Forgets. I don't think I can get it for the sprint now. Sorry. After we change the lobby, but anyway. Of course, that leaves me to give my driver of the day, and well, I'm assuming everyone in the chat wants me to give it to Brad Mason. Unfortunately, I don't think I could quite do that. For me, it has to go to Livs. Standout performance from right at the back to come to the front to take the win. It was fantastic from him. So, Livs, you are driver of the day. Congratulations on that one. And that is all we've got time for this evening then. No interviews, of course. Rare occasion we give an interview here in TTL. But we will be back tomorrow for the Division 2 race in around Miami. Same time, 8 PM UK. What are we now? GMT? BST? I don't know. No idea. The clocks changed at the weekend. But yeah, 8 PM UK time. That's the easiest way to go off it. So be sure to tune in for that one. Hopefully it's another sprint race so it can give us just as much excitement as we've had here tonight then. And I have no idea who will be on commentary, but it won't be me. So there you go. You all get a night off my fantastic voice. So thanks for that. And until then, take care and see you soon.